Victoria Ashford had never felt so small. She stood on the edge of Highway 47 in her $1,000 heels, staring at her cherry-red Ferrari like it had personally betrayed her. The sun was sinking low, painting the sky in shades of burnt orange and deep violet, but she barely noticed. All she could see was the blinking dashboard, the dead engine, and the absolute emptiness stretching in every direction. No cars, no people, just miles of asphalt and silence. She pulled out her phone for the 15th time. No signal, of course. This was the kind of cosmic joke the universe loved to play on people like her, people who had everything, people who never had to wait, people who could buy their way out of any problem, except this one. Victoria pressed her palms against the warm hood of the car and closed her eyes. Her breath came shallow and quick. Panic wasn't something she did. Panic was for people who didn't have control. But right now, standing alone on a highway she'd taken to avoid traffic on her way to a business meeting 2 hours away, she felt control slipping through her fingers like sand. She had left the main interstate because her assistant had texted her about an accident causing delays. "Take the scenic route," he'd said. "It'll save you time." Well, the scenic route had delivered her straight into the middle of nowhere with a car that refused to start and a phone that refused to cooperate. She'd tried calling for help before the signal died, tried texting, tried everything. Nothing. Victoria wasn't used to nothing. She walked a few steps away from the car, her heels clicking against the pavement. The sound echoed in the silence. She wrapped her arms around herself even though it wasn't cold. It was the loneliness that chilled her. The realization that for all her wealth, all her power, all her connections, she was completely and utterly alone. That's when she heard it, a small voice so quiet she almost missed it. "Are you okay?" Victoria spun around. Standing a few feet away was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 years old. She wore a faded pink dress with a sunflower pattern, scuffed sneakers, and her hair was pulled back into two uneven pigtails. In her hands she clutched a worn stuffed rabbit with one ear missing. Her eyes were wide and dark, and filled with something Victoria hadn't seen directed at her in years. Genuine concern. "Where did you come from?" Victoria asked, her voice sharper than she intended. The girl didn't flinch. She pointed down the highway toward a narrow dirt road that branched off into a cluster of trees. "I live over there. I was walking home from my friend's house and I saw your car. It's really pretty. Is it broken?" Victoria glanced back at the Ferrari, then at the girl. "Yes, it's broken." "That's sad," the girl said simply. She took a step closer. "Do you need help?" Victoria almost laughed. What could a child possibly do? But something in the girl's earnest expression stopped her. "I don't think there's much you can do, sweetheart. My phone doesn't work out here and I'm waiting for someone to drive by." The girl looked up and down the empty highway. "Not many people come this way. It's pretty quiet." "I noticed," Victoria said dryly. The girl tilted her head, studying Victoria like she was a puzzle. "You look scared." Victoria stiffened. "I'm not scared, I'm just frustrated." "It's okay to be scared," the girl said softly. "I get scared sometimes too, but my dad always says being scared just means you care about something." Victoria didn't know what to say to that. She wasn't used to talking to children, wasn't used to their honesty, their unfiltered observations. It made her uncomfortable, vulnerable. "What's your name?" the girl asked. "Victoria." "I'm Lily." The girl smiled, and it was the kind of smile that seemed to light up her entire face. "That's a really pretty name, like a queen." "Thank you," Victoria said, and she meant it. Lily walked closer to the Ferrari, peering at it with obvious fascination. "I've never seen a car like this before. It's so shiny, like a race car." "It is a race car," Victoria said. "Sort of. It's very fast, or it was before it decided to stop working." "My dad can fix it," Lily said suddenly, turning to look at Victoria with absolute confidence. Victoria blinked. "What?" "My dad, he fixes things. Cars, tractors, lawn mowers, anything with an engine. He's really good at it. Lily's eyes were bright with pride. I can go get him if you want. Victoria hesitated. The logical part of her brain told her this was ridiculous. What were the odds that this little girl's father, living on some rural back road, would be able to fix a high-performance Italian sports car? The Ferrari wasn't just any vehicle. It was a piece of engineering art. It required specialized knowledge, specialized tools, specialized everything. But the desperate part of her brain, the part that was tired and scared and didn't want to spend the night alone on a dark highway, whispered something different. What choice did she have? "Are you sure your dad wouldn't mind?" Victoria asked. Lily shook her head vigorously. "He never minds helping people. That's what he always tells me. He says if you can help somebody, you should, always." Victoria felt something twist in her chest. When was the last time someone had offered to help her without wanting something in return? When was the last time she'd helped someone without calculating the benefit to herself? "Okay," Victoria said quietly. "If you think your dad can help, I would really appreciate it." Lily's face broke into the biggest smile Victoria had ever seen. "I'll go get him right now. Our house is just down that road. It won't take long, I promise." She turned and started running, her pigtails bouncing, her stuffed rabbit tucked under one arm. "Wait," Victoria called. "Do you want me to come with you?" Lily stopped and looked back. "You can if you want, but your shoes look hard to walk in. You can stay with your car. We'll come back really fast." And then she was gone, disappearing down the dirt road in a cloud of dust and childhood energy. Victoria stood there, alone again, but somehow the loneliness felt different now, less oppressive. She walked back to the Ferrari and leaned against it, letting herself slide down until she was sitting on the ground, her expensive dress be damned. She pulled her knees up and wrapped her arms around them and waited. The sky grew darker. Stars began to appear one by one until the whole sky was filled with them. Victoria couldn't remember the last time she'd seen stars like this. In the city, the lights drowned them out. But here, in the middle of nowhere, they were breathtaking, infinite, humbling. She thought about her life, about the empire she'd built, the company she'd inherited from her father and transformed into something even bigger, even more profitable. She thought about the boardrooms and the power lunches and the late nights and the early mornings and the constant, relentless drive to be more, have more, achieve more. She thought about how empty it all felt in this moment. She heard them before she saw them. Footsteps on the dirt road, voices carrying through the still air. Lily's high and excited, a man's low and calm. Victoria stood up, brushing off her dress, suddenly very aware of how out of place she must look. They emerged from the darkness into the faint glow of her car's emergency lights. Lily was still clutching her rabbit, practically bouncing with excitement. Beside her was a man who looked to be in his late 30s or early 40s. He wore old jeans, work boots, and a faded plaid shirt with the sleeves rolled up. His hands were rough and calloused, his face weathered by sun and work. But his eyes were kind, patient. The eyes of someone who'd seen hardship but hadn't let it make him hard. "Evening," he said, his voice gentle. "I'm Tom. Lily tells me you're having some trouble." Victoria nodded, suddenly feeling self-conscious. "Yes, my car just died. I don't know what happened. One minute it was fine, the next minute everything just shut off." Tom walked over to the Ferrari, and Victoria noticed he didn't gawk at it the way most people did. He just looked at it the way a doctor might look at a patient, assessing, thoughtful. "Mind if I take a look?" he asked. "Please," Victoria said. "I don't know what I'd do if you can't help." "Well, let's see what we're dealing with first," Tom said. He motioned for her to pop the hood. Victoria pressed the release, and the hood lifted with a soft hiss. Tom peered inside, pulling a small flashlight from his pocket. Lily stood beside him, watching everything he did with rapt attention. "See, this is the engine Lilybug," Tom said softly, pointing. "Every car has one, even fancy ones like this. They're all different, but they all work on the same basic principles. What's wrong with it, Daddy? Lily asked. That's what we're trying to figure out. Tom leaned in closer, his hands moving carefully around the engine, checking connections, feeling hoses, listening to sounds Victoria couldn't hear. She watched him work, fascinated despite herself. There was something almost meditative about the way he moved. No wasted motion, no frustration, just calm, methodical problem-solving. When did it stop? Tom asked, not looking up. About an hour ago, Victoria said. Maybe a little more. I was driving and suddenly the dashboard started flashing warnings. Then everything just shut down. I tried to restart it, but nothing happened. Tom nodded. Did you stop for gas recently? Victoria frowned. No, the tank was full when I left the city this morning. Tom straightened up and walked around to the side of the car. He crouched down, running his hand along the undercarriage. Then he stood and met Victoria's eyes. I think I know what the problem is, but you're not going to like it. Victoria's heart sank. What? Looks like your fuel pump failed. It's not common, but it happens, especially if you've been pushing the car hard. The pump is what moves gas from your tank to your engine. Without it, doesn't matter how much fuel you have. The engine can't get it. Can you fix it? Victoria asked, adding how small her voice sounded. Tom sucked air through his teeth. Not tonight. I'd need to order the part, and for a car like this, that's not something I can just pick up at the local auto shop. We're talking specialty parts. Could take a few days to get here, maybe longer. Victoria felt the panic rising again. A few days? I can't wait a few days. I have meetings, obligations, people depending on me. Tom held up a hand. I understand, but I'll tell you what I can do. I can tow your car back to my shop, keep it safe while we wait for the part. And I've got an old truck you can borrow in the meantime. It's not fancy, but it runs good and it'll get you where you need to go. Victoria stared at him. You would do that? You don't even know me. Tom shrugged. You need help, I can help. Seems pretty straightforward to me. I can pay you, Victoria said quickly. Whatever it costs, whatever you think is fair, I'll pay double, triple. Something shifted in Tom's expression. Not anger exactly, but something close to disappointment. I'm not helping you for money, ma'am. I'm helping you because it's the right thing to do. Victoria felt her cheeks flush. I didn't mean to offend you. I just want you to know I appreciate it and I don't expect you to do this for free. We can talk about payment later, Tom said, his voice gentler now. Right now, let's just focus on getting you sorted out. It's getting late and I don't like the idea of you standing out here alone in the dark. Lily tugged on her father's sleeve. Daddy, can Victoria come home with us? She could have dinner and sleep in the guest room, and then tomorrow you can fix her car. Tom looked at Victoria, and she saw the question in his eyes. She opened her mouth to decline, to say she'd find a hotel, to insist she didn't want to impose. But then she looked around at the empty highway, at the darkness pressing in from all sides, and she realized she didn't want to be alone anymore. If it's not too much trouble, Victoria said softly. No trouble at all, Tom said. He turned to Lily. Run back home and tell Mom we're having a guest for dinner. Ask her to set an extra plate. Lily took off running again, her excitement palpable. Tom walked over to a beat-up pickup truck Victoria hadn't noticed parked on the shoulder. He pulled out a tow chain and got to work attaching it to the Ferrari with practiced efficiency. Victoria watched, feeling useless and out of place. You can ride with me, Tom said when he finished. We'll take it slow. My shop is right next to the house, so it's not far. Victoria climbed into the passenger seat of the truck. The interior smelled like oil and pine and something else she couldn't identify. Hard work, maybe. The seat had a tear in it patched with duct tape. The radio looked like it was from the 80s. But it was clean, and when Tom started the engine, it purred to life without complaint. They drove in silence for a while, the Ferrari rolling behind them, its headlights dark. Victoria stared out the window at the passing trees, at the narrow dirt road that wound through the forest like a secret. "Thank you," she said finally, "for helping me. I know you didn't have to." Tom glanced at her. Everybody needs help sometimes. Doesn't matter who you are or what you have. Life has a way of bringing us all down to size now and then. Victoria thought about that. Is that what you think happened to me? Life brought me down to size. I think life gave you an opportunity, Tom said. What you do with it is up to you. They pulled into a clearing and Victoria saw a small house. It wasn't much. Single-story, white paint peeling in places, a front porch with a swing that had seen better days. But there were flowers in the yard, carefully tended. A vegetable garden off to one side. A basketball hoop with a net that had been repaired with twine. And light spilling from the windows, warm and golden and welcoming. Tom parked the truck and led the Ferrari around to a large metal building next to the house. He opened the bay door and carefully positioned the sports car inside, unhooking the tow chain with the same methodical care he'd shown before. "She'll be safe here," he said, patting the Ferrari's hood like it was a nervous horse. "I'll call around tomorrow, see about getting that part ordered." They walked to the house together. Tom held the door open for her, and Victoria stepped into another world. The kitchen was small and cluttered in the way homes are when people actually live in them. There were drawings on the refrigerator, held up with magnets, a cat sleeping on a chair, the smell of something delicious cooking on the stove, and at the counter, stirring a pot, was a woman with kind eyes and flour on her cheek. "You must be Victoria," she said, smiling. "I'm Sarah, welcome to our home." "Thank you for having me," Victoria said, and she was surprised to find she meant it. Lily appeared from another room, having changed out of her dress into pajamas covered in cartoon stars. "Come see my room," she said, grabbing Victoria's hand. Victoria let herself be pulled down a narrow hallway, past family photos on the walls, past a bathroom with towels hanging crooked on the rack, into a small bedroom that was an explosion of color and imagination. There were posters of horses and princesses, a bookshelf overflowing with stories, a bed with a quilt that looked handmade. And on the nightstand, a framed photo of Lily with Tom and Sarah, all three of them laughing, covered in mud, gloriously happy. "This is my favorite place in the whole world," Lily said proudly. "Well, second favorite. My first favorite is anywhere with my mom and dad." Victoria looked at the photo again. "You have a beautiful family." "I know," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Do you have kids?" "No," Victoria said. "I never had time for that." Lily frowned. "That's sad. Kids are the best. We're funny and we give good hugs and we always tell the truth even when we're not supposed to." Victoria laughed and it felt strange. How long had it been since she'd really laughed? "You make a compelling argument." "Dinner's ready," Sarah called from the kitchen. They all gathered around a small table that barely fit 4 people. Sarah had made chicken pot pie, homemade bread, and green beans from the garden. It was simple food, but it was made with love, and Victoria could taste the difference. They talked while they ate. Tom told stories about the cars he'd fixed, the strange problems he'd encountered, the time a raccoon had built a nest in someone's engine. Lily told Victoria about school, about her best friend Emma, about the tooth she'd lost last week, and the dollar the tooth fairy had left. Sarah talked about her work at the local library, about the reading program she'd started for kids, about the elderly woman who came in every Tuesday just to have someone to talk to. Victoria listened and realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd sat down for a meal like this. A real meal with real people having real conversations that weren't about deals or contracts or profit margins. It was strange. It was uncomfortable. It was wonderful. "What do you do, Victoria?" Sarah asked gently. "I run a company," Victoria said. "We do commercial real estate development. Buy properties, renovate them, sell them, or lease them out. It's very demanding work." "Sounds important," Tom said. "It is," Victoria said automatically. Then she paused. Or at least I always thought it was, but sitting here with you all, I'm not so sure anymore. Sarah reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Important is relative. Building buildings is important, but so is building relationships, building a home, building a life. Victoria felt tears prick her eyes and she blinked them away, embarrassed. I think I've been so focused on building my empire that I forgot to build anything else. It's never too late, Tom said quietly. My dad used to say that every day is a chance to choose a different path. Long as you're breathing, you've got choices. After dinner, Lily insisted on showing Victoria her favorite book. They sat together on the couch, Lily curled up against Victoria's side in a way that felt both foreign and natural. The book was about a little girl who found a lost star and helped it find its way home. Lily's voice was soft and earnest as she read, occasionally stopping to show Victoria her favorite illustrations. When the story was finished, Lily looked up at her. Do you think the star was scared when it was lost? Victoria thought about her Ferrari dying on an empty highway, about standing alone in the gathering dark. Yes, she said, I think it probably was. But it was okay in the end, Lily said, because someone helped it, someone cared. Yes, Victoria whispered, it was okay in the end. Sarah appeared with blankets and pillows. Lily, it's bedtime, sweetie. Victoria needs to rest too. It's been a long day for everyone. Lily hugged Victoria with fierce intensity. I'm glad your car broke down, she said. Is that bad to say? Victoria hugged her back, feeling something crack open inside her chest. No, sweetheart. I think I'm glad too. Tom showed Victoria to the guest room. It was tiny, barely big enough for the single bed and small dresser. But the sheets were clean, there was a glass of water on the nightstand, and someone had put a small vase of wildflowers by the window. Bathroom's just across the hall, Tom said. If you need anything, just holler. We're light sleepers. Tom, Victoria said as he turned to leave. Why are you doing this, really? He looked at her for a long moment. About 5 years ago, I was driving home late from a job 2 towns over. My truck broke down in a storm. I was soaked, freezing, had no way to call for help. A stranger stopped, gave me a ride home, wouldn't take a dime for it. Told me to just pass it on someday. He smiled. I guess today's that day. After he left, Victoria sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out her phone. The signal was weak, but it was there. She had 17 missed calls, 43 unread emails, voice messages from her assistant, her board members, her business partners, all demanding to know where she was, why she'd missed the meeting, when she'd be back. She looked at all of it, the urgency, the demands, the empire that couldn't survive without her constant attention. And then she turned the phone off. She lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the house settling around her. Quiet voices from the other room, water running in pipes, the creak of floorboards, the sounds of a family, the sounds of a home. Victoria closed her eyes and, for the first time in years, she slept without dreaming of spreadsheets and schedules and the constant, grinding pressure to be more. She woke to sunlight streaming through the window and the smell of coffee and bacon. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. Then memory returned, and with it, a strange sense of peace. She found clothes folded on the dresser. Not her clothes. Sarah's, probably. A simple t-shirt and jeans, worn but clean. Victoria changed, leaving her expensive dress draped over a chair like a shed skin. In the kitchen, the family was already gathered. Lily was eating pancakes shaped like flowers. Sarah was packing lunches. Tom was reading the newspaper, an actual physical newspaper, the kind Victoria hadn't seen in years. Morning, Sarah said warmly. Coffee. Please, Victoria said, and accepted the mug gratefully. They ate breakfast together, and it was as comfortable as dinner had been. Easy conversation, comfortable silences, the rhythm of people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. After breakfast, Tom drove Lily to school in his truck. Victoria rode along, squished in the middle of the bench seat, Lily chattering away about the math test she had and the art project she was excited about. They dropped her off at a small rural school, and Victoria watched as Lily ran to join her friends, backpack bouncing, without a care in the world. "She's a special kid," Victoria said. "She is," Tom agreed. "Teaches me something new every day, reminds me what's important." Back at the house, Tom got to work on the phone, calling parts suppliers, explaining what he needed. Victoria sat on the porch swing, sipping coffee, watching Sarah work in the garden. After a while, Sarah came and sat beside her. "Penny for your thoughts." Victoria smiled. "I'm thinking about how strange life is. 24 hours ago, I would have said I had everything figured out. Now I'm not sure I understand anything at all." "That's growth," Sarah said. "Real growth is uncomfortable. It means admitting you were wrong about things. But it's the only way to become more than you were." "How did you and Tom build this?" Victoria asked, gesturing at the house, the garden, the life surrounding them. "This feeling of home, of peace. I have everything money can buy, and I've never felt what I feel here." Sarah was quiet for a moment. "We built it by choosing each other every day, by choosing kindness over being right, by choosing presence over presence, by understanding that wealth isn't what you have, it's what you give away." "I don't know if I know how to do that," Victoria admitted. "Then learn," Sarah said simply. "You're here, you're open, that's the hardest part." Over the next 2 days, Victoria lived with the family. She helped Sarah cook dinner, learning to knead bread and chop vegetables. She played board games with Lily in the evenings, laughing at the child's creative rule interpretations. She watched Tom work in his shop, his hands bringing dead engines back to life with patience and skill. She also made phone calls, rescheduled meetings, delegated responsibilities, and discovered to her shock that her empire didn't crumble without her constant oversight. Her team was capable. They'd been capable all along. She just never trusted them enough to let go. On the third morning, Tom came into the kitchen with grease on his hands and a smile on his face. "Part came in early. Your Ferrari's ready." Victoria felt a strange twist in her chest. Relief and something else. Disappointment, maybe. "That's wonderful, thank you so much." She went to her room and changed back into her dress. It felt strange now, constrictive, like a costume from a play she no longer wanted to be in. The family walked her to the shop. The Ferrari gleamed in the morning light, looking exactly as it had before. Perfect, expensive, untouchable. "I don't know how to thank you," Victoria said, her voice thick with emotion. "You've given me so much more than a working car." Tom shook his head. "We didn't give you anything you didn't already have inside you. We just gave you a quiet place to find it." Victoria knelt down in front of Lily. "Thank you for being brave enough to talk to a stranger. Thank you for believing your dad could help. You saved me in more ways than you know." Lily hugged her tight. "Will you come visit us?" "Yes," Victoria said, and she knew she meant it. "I promise." She hugged Sarah and Tom, these strangers who had become something more in just 3 days. Then she climbed into her Ferrari, started the engine, and heard it roar to life. But before she drove away, she rolled down the window. "Tom, how much do I owe you for the repairs?" Tom thought for a moment. The part was 200, labor. Let's call it another 100, 300 total. Victoria nodded. She reached into her purse and pulled out her checkbook. But instead of writing 300, she wrote a number that made Tom's eyes widen. "Ma'am, this is too much, way too much." "It's not enough," Victoria said quietly. "But it's a start. Use it for Lily's education, for the house, for the library program Sarah mentioned. Use it to help other people the way you helped me. And Tom, one more thing. I own commercial properties. If you ever want to expand your shop, need a bigger space, I'll make sure you get it. No strings attached." Tom looked at the check, then at Victoria. "Why?" "Because someone once told me that if you can help somebody, you should. Always." Victoria smiled. I'm just passing it on." She drove away slowly, watching them in the rearview mirror until they disappeared around a bend. Then she pulled over, took out her phone, and made a call. "Victoria, where have you been? We've been trying to reach you for days." "I know," Victoria said calmly, "and I'm sorry, but I need to make some changes. I'm going to be taking a step back from day-to-day operations. I want to focus on projects that matter: community development, affordable housing, green spaces, things that help people, not just profits." There was sputtering on the other end, protests, concerns about shareholders and bottom lines. "Figure it out," Victoria said, and she realized she was smiling. "I have faith in you. Now if you'll excuse me, I have somewhere to be." She hung up and turned the car around. When she pulled back into Tom's driveway, they were still standing there looking confused. Victoria got out of the car. "Victoria," Sarah said, "did you forget something?" "Yes," Victoria said. "I forgot what's important, and I'd like to stay a little longer if that's okay. Maybe a week, maybe more. I'd like to learn from you, all of you. I'd like to figure out how to build something real." Lily ran to her, crashing into her legs with a hug. "Yes, you can help me with my art project." Tom and Sarah looked at each other, something passing between them that Victoria was beginning to recognize as the silent language of people who truly know each other. "Stay as long as you like," Sarah said. "There's always room for family." Family, the word hit Victoria like a wave. She'd had parents long dead, had siblings she didn't speak to, had employees and business associates and people who called her for money or favors or opportunities. But family, real family, she'd never had that. Until now. The next weeks passed in a blur of new experiences. Victoria learned to fix a leaking pipe, to plant seeds in neat rows, to throw a baseball even though her arm was terrible at it. She read bedtime stories to Lily every night, their collection of favorites growing. She helped Sarah organize a fundraiser for the library. She worked alongside Tom in his shop, handing him tools, learning to diagnose problems by sound and feel rather than expensive computer diagnostics. She met the neighbors, families who didn't have much but shared everything, who helped each other with home repairs and childcare and meals during hard times, who measured wealth in laughter and community and the simple joy of knowing someone would answer if you called. She learned to slow down, to breathe, to be present in moments instead of always racing toward the next thing. And slowly, something inside her began to heal. One evening, sitting on the porch swing with Sarah while Tom and Lily played catch in the yard, Victoria said, "I used to think I was so important, that the world needed me, that without me driving it forward, everything would fall apart." "And now?" Sarah asked. "Now I think maybe the world just needs people to be kind to each other, to show up when someone's stranded, to share what they have, to remember that we're all connected whether we admit it or not." She paused. "I spent my whole life building an empire. You've built something so much more valuable." Sarah took her hand. "You can have both, you know. You can be successful and kind, powerful and present. You just have to choose it every single day." "I want to," Victoria whispered. "I want to choose differently." "Then do it," Sarah said simply. "Start tomorrow, start right now." That night Victoria lay in the small guest bed that had become home and made plans. Real plans. Not about profits or acquisitions, but about impact and meaning. She would restructure her company around social good, would use her resources to create affordable housing, community centers, spaces where people could gather and connect, would find other people like Tom and Sarah and help them the way they'd helped her. She would build an empire of kindness. The next morning she called her lawyer and began the process. It would take time. It would take work. But for the first time in her life, she was excited about work that mattered beyond her bank account. She stayed with the family for 3 more weeks, long enough to see Lily perform in her school play, long enough to help Tom renovate a shed into a proper workshop, long enough to become part of the rhythm of their lives, to understand that happiness wasn't something you achieved, but something you practiced daily, in small moments and quiet choices. When she finally left, she cried. Real tears. The kind that come from genuine connection and the pain of leaving it, even temporarily. You're not saying goodbye, Lily said firmly. You're saying see you later. See you later, Victoria agreed, hugging her tight. She drove away in her Ferrari, but this time it felt different. It wasn't a symbol of status or success. It was just a car, a tool to get her from one place to another. The real treasures she carried with her were invisible, lessons learned, perspectives shifted, a heart cracked open. She returned to the city, to her company, to her life, but she brought the family with her in spirit. When she made decisions, she asked herself what Tom would do, what Sarah would say, what Lily would think. She measured success differently now, not in dollars but in lives improved, not in properties owned but in communities strengthened. She visited every month, sometimes more, brought gifts that weren't expensive but thoughtful, books for Lily, tools for Tom, seeds for Sarah's garden. She attended school plays and birthday parties and ordinary Tuesday dinners that felt extraordinary because they were shared with people who loved each other. And slowly, her life transformed. She downsized her penthouse apartment and bought a small house on the outskirts of the city with a yard and space for a garden. She started volunteering at a local community center, teaching business skills to people who wanted to start their own companies. She funded scholarships for kids like Lily who had big dreams but limited resources. She learned to measure days not in meetings attended but in moments lived, in conversations that mattered, in hands held, in differences made. 1 year after her Ferrari broke down on Highway 47, Victoria returned to the same spot. She stood beside the road, looking at the stretch of asphalt where her old life had ended and her new one had begun. She heard footsteps behind her and turned to find Tom and Sarah and Lily walking toward her. She'd asked them to meet her here, to help her mark this strange anniversary. I've been thinking about that day a lot, Victoria said, about how terrified I was, how lost I felt, how certain I was that my life was falling apart. And now, Tom asked. Now I know it wasn't falling apart, it was falling into place. Victoria smiled. That day I thought I lost everything, but really I found everything. Lily slipped her hand into Victoria's. Did you know that my dad can fix anything? Victoria laughed, the sound bright and genuine. I do know that. Your dad is pretty amazing. He is, Lily agreed. But so are you. You were broken too and you fixed yourself. Out of the mouths of babes, Victoria thought. She knelt down to Lily's level. You know what? You're right, but I couldn't have done it without you, without your family. You taught me how. They stood together on that highway, the four of them, as cars passed by. Normal people going about their lives, having no idea that this unremarkable stretch of road had been the site of a miracle. Not the flashy kind with angels and trumpets, but the quiet kind that happens when human beings choose compassion over indifference. I have something to show you all, Victoria said. She pulled out her phone and opened a folder of photos. Remember that empty lot 3 blocks from your house, the one that was overgrown and full of trash? Tom nodded. The old Morrison property, been sitting empty for years. Not anymore. Victoria swiped through the images, architectural renderings, construction plans, beautiful drawings of a community center with a workshop space, a library annex, a garden, a playground, and a small medical clinic. I bought it. We break ground next month. And Tom, I want you to run the workshop space. Teach people what you know. Help them the way you helped me, if you're interested. Tom's eyes widened. Victoria, I don't know what to say. Say yes, Sarah said softly, squeezing her husband's hand. Say yes to this blessing. Yes, Tom whispered. Absolutely yes. And Sarah, Victoria continued, I've been talking to the library board. They approved funding for a full-time position managing community outreach and literacy programs. The job is yours if you want it. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Are you serious? Completely. You've been doing that work for free for years. It's time you got paid what you're worth. Lily tugged on Victoria's sleeve. What about me? Do I get something? Victoria pretended to think hard. Well, I don't know. What do you think you deserve? A pony, Lily said immediately, then giggled. I'm kidding. I don't need anything. I already have everything. Victoria felt tears sting her eyes. You're wiser than most adults I know, Lily, but actually I do have something for you. She pulled a small box from her pocket and opened it. Inside was a delicate silver bracelet with a single charm, a tiny star. Remember the book you read to me, about the lost star that found its way home? Lily nodded, her eyes huge. You were my star, Lily. You found me when I was lost. You helped me find my way home, so I wanted you to have this, to remember that even the smallest person can make the biggest difference. Lily threw her arms around Victoria's neck, and Victoria held her close, breathing in the scent of strawberry shampoo and childhood innocence and pure, uncomplicated love. Thank you, Lily whispered. I'll keep it forever and ever. They spent the rest of the afternoon together, had a picnic on the side of the highway, which was probably against some law but felt wonderfully rebellious, talked about plans for the community center, laughed at Tom's terrible jokes, watched the sun move across the sky. As evening approached, Victoria stood and brushed grass from her jeans. The expensive designer kind had been replaced with practical denim months ago. I should get going. I have a meeting tomorrow morning with some investors who want to replicate the community center model in other cities. Changing the world one town at a time, Sarah said proudly. Trying to, Victoria said. I figure I've got a lot to make up for. A lot of years where I could have been helping people but was too busy helping myself. Tom stood and put a hand on her shoulder. Don't think of it as making up for lost time. Think of it as investing your time better going forward. When did you get so wise? Victoria asked. I've always been this wise, Tom said with a grin. You just had to slow down long enough to hear it. They walked back to their vehicles together. Victoria's Ferrari was still beautiful, still powerful, but she'd added something new. On the bumper was a small sticker that said, "Kindness is currency." I like that, Sarah said, pointing at it. Me too, Victoria said. It's my new business model. And you know what? It's way more profitable than I ever imagined. Maybe not in dollars, but in every way that matters. She hugged each of them goodbye. These three people who had become her true north, her moral compass, her family in all the ways that counted. As she drove away, she looked in the rearview mirror and saw them waving. Tom with his arm around Sarah. Lily jumping up and down, her new bracelet catching the light. A family, her family. Victoria smiled and pressed the accelerator, the Ferrari responding with its familiar purr. But this time, she wasn't racing toward anything. She was moving forward with purpose, with intention, with a heart finally whole. The highway stretched before her, and for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid of where it might lead. 3 years later, Victoria stood on a stage in front of 500 people at a conference on social entrepreneurship. She wore a simple black suit, no designer label, and spoke without notes. I used to measure success by the size of my bank account, she told the audience. By the properties I owned, the deals I closed, the empire I built. And then one day, my car broke down on a highway in the middle of nowhere, and I met a little girl who believed her father could fix anything. She paused, scanning the audience. In the front row sat Tom, Sarah, and Lily, now almost 12, still bright-eyed and full of life. That little girl was right. Her father could fix anything, including me. That family took me in when I was stranded, and in doing so, they showed me what real wealth looks like. It looks like kindness offered freely. It looks like a home filled with love instead of things. It looks like a child who believes in people, and parents who teach her that believing is important. She clicked to the next slide, showing images of community centers across 12 states. This is what happened when I stopped measuring success in dollars and started measuring it in impact. These centers serve over 50,000 people every month. They provide job training, childcare, healthcare, and most importantly, hope. Another slide. We've helped launch 300 small businesses owned by people who were told they'd never succeed. We've provided scholarships to 5,000 students. We've built affordable housing for families who thought they'd never own a home. She clicked to a photo of herself and Lily, taken just last month, both of them covered in paint from renovating one of the community centers. But the real success isn't in those numbers, as impressive as they are. The real success is in the ripple effect. Every person we help goes on to help someone else. Every kindness multiplies. Every life touched touches other lives. That's the real math of compassion. She looked directly at Lily, who was watching her with pride radiating from every pore. A little girl once told me that her dad always says if you can help somebody, you should. Always. I've built my entire business model on that principle now. And I'm here to tell you that it works. Not just morally, not just ethically, but practically. People want to work for companies that care. Investors want to fund projects that matter. Customers want to support businesses that give back. She clicked to her final slide. It was a photo of her Ferrari, the day it broke down, taken by Tom before they towed it away. In the background, barely visible, was Lily approaching. This is the moment my life changed. This is the moment I stopped being rich and started becoming wealthy. Because wealth isn't what you accumulate. It's what you give away. It's what you build. It's who you become when you finally understand that we're all connected, that helping others is helping yourself, that the only empire worth building is one built on kindness. The audience erupted in applause. Victoria stepped down from the stage and was immediately enveloped in hugs from her family. Not the family she was born into, but the family she chose. The family that chose her. "You did good, Victoria," Tom said quietly. "We did good," Victoria corrected. "This is our work, our legacy. I'm just the one with the microphone." That evening, they had dinner at a restaurant Victoria had invested in, a small place run by a single mother who'd gotten her start through one of the job training programs. The food was excellent, the atmosphere warm, and the owner stopped by their table 3 times to thank Victoria and tell her how much the opportunity had meant. After the woman walked away, Lily looked thoughtful. "Victoria, can I ask you something?" "Anything, sweetheart." "Do you ever miss it? The way things were before, when you were just rich and didn't have to worry about helping people?" Victoria considered the question seriously. It deserved a real answer. "You know, sometimes I miss the simplicity of it, when success was just a number on a spreadsheet. When I didn't lie awake at night thinking about all the people I still haven't reached, all the problems I still haven't solved." She paused. "But I don't miss the emptiness. I don't miss being alone in my fancy apartment, surrounded by expensive things that meant nothing. I don't miss the person I was." "Do you think you were a bad person?" Lily asked. "Before?" "No," Victoria said slowly. "I don't think I was bad. I think I was lost. I think I had forgotten that money is just a tool. What matters is what you build with it." "You've built something really cool," Lily said. "I'm proud of you." Victoria felt her throat tighten. "I'm proud of you too. You know why?" Lily shook her head. "Because you had the courage to talk to a stranger. You had faith that people are worth helping. You believed in kindness when you had no reason to believe I deserved it. You're 12 years old, and you understand things that took me 40 years to learn." 13 next month, Lily corrected with a grin. "And it's easy to be kind when you learn from the best." She looked at her parents. "They taught me everything important." Tom and Sarah exchanged the kind of look that still, after all these years, made Victoria feel like she was witnessing something sacred. A love that had weathered storms, raised a child, built a life. A partnership that valued each other more than anything else. "You taught me too," Victoria said softly. You taught me that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves you when you're broken and helps you put yourself back together. Sarah reached across the table and took Victoria's hand. You were never broken, honey. You were just bent a little out of shape. You just needed reminding of who you really were underneath all that armor. Who am I? Victoria asked, even though she thought she knew the answer now. You're kind, Lily said immediately. You're strong. You're someone who fixes things just like my dad, but you fix people's lives instead of their cars. Victoria laughed through tears she didn't bother to hide anymore. That's the nicest thing anyone has ever said to me. They finished dinner and walked out into the cool night air. The city spread before them, millions of lights, millions of lives, millions of stories intersecting and diverging in the beautiful chaos of human existence. I'm thinking about writing a book, Victoria said suddenly. About what happened, about how my life changed because a little girl believed her father could fix a broken car. Will you change our names? Tom asked. Do you want me to? He thought about it. No, I think our names are fine. Let people know who we are. Maybe it'll inspire them to help someone too. What will you call it? Sarah asked. Victoria smiled. I think I'll call it My Dad Can Fix It, because that's where it all started, with a child's faith and a father's kindness and a woman who didn't know she was looking for a family until she found one. I like it, Lily said. But you have to promise to put in the part about the pancakes shaped like flowers. That's important. I promise, Victoria said solemnly. All the important details will be there. They stood together on the sidewalk, in no rush to go their separate ways. This was the thing Victoria had learned. That time spent with people you love is never wasted. That presence is the greatest present. That showing up is 90% of love. Same time next month, Tom asked. They had a standing dinner date now, the four of them, once a month without fail. Same time next month, Victoria confirmed. Although I might come by sooner. I heard there's a school science fair coming up and someone promised to show me her volcano project. Lily's face lit up. It's going to be epic. It's going to explode so big. Can't wait, Victoria said and meant it. They hugged goodbye and Victoria watched them walk to Tom's truck, newer now but still a truck, still practical, still Tom. She climbed into her Ferrari, but these days she drove it differently. Slower, more mindful of the journey rather than the destination. As she pulled into traffic, her phone rang. Her assistant calling about a crisis at work, some deal falling through, some investor pulling out, the kind of thing that used to send her into a panic. How bad is it? Victoria asked calmly. Her assistant explained the situation. It sounded complicated, expensive, stressful. Can we fix it? Victoria asked. I think so, but it'll take time and we might lose some money in the short term. Victoria smiled. That's fine, we'll figure it out. These things have a way of working themselves out, and if they don't, that's okay too. We'll adapt. We always do. There was a pause on the other end. Are you feeling okay? I'm feeling great, Victoria said honestly. Better than I've felt in years, actually. Listen, handle what you can and we'll talk about the rest tomorrow. Right now, I need to drive home, call my family and get a good night's sleep. Your family? I thought you didn't have any family. Victoria's smile widened. I didn't. But then my car broke down on a highway in the middle of nowhere and I found them. Or they found me. I'm still not entirely sure which. After she hung up, Victoria drove through the city streets, past the community centers she'd helped build, past the affordable housing developments, past the schools where her scholarship students studied. She drove past all the visible markers of her success. But the real success was invisible. It was in the lessons learned. The perspectives shifted. The heart that had finally learned to open. It was in the understanding that life wasn't about racing to some imaginary finish line, but about the people you traveled with along the way. She thought about that day on the highway, about how terrified she'd been, about how her first instinct had been to solve the problem with money, with power, with control, about how none of that had worked. She thought about Lily appearing out of nowhere like a small angel, offering help with such simple faith, about Tom's quiet competence and Sarah's gentle wisdom, about how they had given her exactly what she needed, which wasn't a working car but a working example of how to live. That night in her modest house with its garden and comfortable furniture and walls covered in photos of the people she loved, Victoria sat down at her computer and began to write. Chapter 1: The Day My Ferrari Died. The words flowed easily. The story poured out of her. Every detail, every emotion, every moment of transformation. She wrote about fear and pride and the slow, painful process of letting go of who she thought she should be to discover who she really was. She wrote until dawn, when the first light crept through her windows. Then she saved the document, made herself coffee, and read through what she'd written. It was raw, it was honest, it was vulnerable in a way she'd never been before. It was perfect. Over the next year, the book took shape. Victoria shared drafts with Tom, Sarah, and Lily. They added their perspectives, their memories, their own experiences of that time. It became a collaboration, a family project, a testament to the power of human connection. When it was finally published, Victoria didn't do a big promotional tour. Instead, she did readings at community centers, at libraries, at small bookstores in towns most authors never visited. She talked to people who felt lost like she had been, people who measured their worth by their bank accounts, people who had forgotten that kindness was currency. The book became a bestseller, not through marketing campaigns but through word of mouth. People read it and shared it. They told their own stories of transformation. They talked about the strangers who had helped them, the moments that had changed them, the small acts of kindness that had saved them. And with the proceeds from the book, Victoria started a foundation. The Fix It Forward Foundation, named in honor of Tom's simple philosophy. The foundation funded community projects, supported small businesses, provided scholarships, and most importantly, helped people help each other. On the 5th anniversary of the day her Ferrari broke down, Victoria organized a celebration at the first community center, the one built near Tom and Sarah's house. Hundreds of people came, people whose lives had been touched by the ripple effect of that one moment on that one highway. There were speeches and music and food. But the best moment came when Lily, now 16 and already showing signs of the remarkable woman she would become, took the microphone. 5 years ago, she said, her voice clear and strong, I was walking home from my friend's house and I saw a fancy red car on the side of the highway. And I saw a woman who looked scared and alone. And I did what my parents taught me to do. I offered to help. She paused, looking out at the crowd. I didn't know that my dad fixing her car would change everything. I didn't know that Victoria would become part of our family. I didn't know that helping one person would lead to helping thousands of people. I just knew that someone needed help, and if you can help somebody, you should. Always. The crowd erupted in applause. Lily continued, Victoria always says I saved her that day, but I think we saved each other. She needed a family. We needed to remember that the world is bigger than our little corner of it. She needed to learn how to be kind. We needed to learn that kindness can change the world. She looked directly at Victoria, who was standing at the side of the stage, tears streaming down her face. Victoria, you taught me that it's never too late to change. That you can build an empire or you can build a community, and the community will always matter more. That money is just paper unless you use it to help people. That the only success worth having is the kind that makes other people successful too. Lily stepped down from the microphone and walked to Victoria, and they embraced while the crowd cheered. Thank you, Victoria whispered in her ear, for everything, for believing your dad could fix my car, for helping him fix me instead. You fixed yourself, Lily whispered back. We just gave you the tools. That night, after everyone had left and the community center was quiet, Victoria sat on a bench outside with Tom and Sarah. They watched the stars appear, one by one, filling the sky with light. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if your car hadn't broken down?" Sarah asked. Victoria thought about it. "Sometimes. I think I would have made it to that meeting, closed that deal, made more money, built a bigger empire, and I would have been just as empty and lost as I was before." "The universe has a funny way of putting us exactly where we need to be," Tom said, "even when it doesn't feel like it at the time." "Especially when it doesn't feel like it at the time," Victoria corrected. "The best things in my life have come from moments that felt like disasters at first." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes from years of friendship and trust. Finally, Sarah spoke. "You know what I love most about this story?" "What?" Victoria asked. "That it's not really about a car breaking down. It's about a heart opening up. It's about pride breaking down so love can get in. It's about the walls we build around ourselves and the strangers who help us tear them down." Victoria nodded. "It's about remembering that we're all human, that we all need help sometimes, that giving help is just as important as receiving it, maybe more important." "It's about kindness," Tom said simply. "Everything good in the world starts with kindness." They sat together until late, three people who had found each other in the most unlikely way, who had built something beautiful from a moment of breakdown, who had proven that the best things in life can't be bought or sold, they can only be shared. When Victoria finally drove home that night, she didn't take the highway. She took the back roads, the scenic route, the path less traveled. She drove slowly, windows down, breathing in the night air. And when she passed the exact spot where her Ferrari had died 5 years ago, she pulled over. She got out and stood on the side of the road, looking at the stretch of asphalt that had changed her life. It looked completely ordinary, just another piece of highway, indistinguishable from 1,000 others. But Victoria knew better. She knew that ordinary moments can become extraordinary, that breakdowns can become breakthroughs, that strangers can become family, that a little girl's faith in her father can ripple out to touch thousands of lives. She thought about the woman she had been that day, scared, alone, measuring her worth by her wealth. And she thought about the woman she was now, still wealthy but in ways that couldn't be counted, rich in relationships, in purpose, in the deep satisfaction that comes from making a difference. "Thank you," she whispered to the empty highway, to the universe, to whatever force had brought her Ferrari to a stop in exactly this spot at exactly the right time. "Thank you for breaking me down so I could build myself back up. Thank you for putting me in Lily's path. Thank you for teaching me what really matters." The wind picked up, rustling through the trees, and Victoria could have sworn she heard it whisper back, "You're welcome. Now go, keep fixing things, keep helping people, keep being kind." She smiled, got back in her car, and drove home. But this time, she wasn't racing toward anything or running from anything. She was simply moving forward, 1 mile at a time, carrying with her the lessons learned on this ordinary stretch of highway. That kindness is the only currency that multiplies when you give it away. That family is made in the heart, not in the blood. That success is measured in lives touched, not dollars earned. That sometimes you have to break down to break through. And that a little girl who believes her father can fix anything might just be the wisest person you ever meet. Because he could fix anything, including a millionaire stranded beside her Ferrari, including a heart that had forgotten how to feel, including a life that had lost its meaning. He fixed it all by simply being kind, by showing up, by helping without expecting anything in return. And in doing so, he taught Victoria the greatest lesson of her life, that the only thing worth building is a legacy of compassion, that the only empire that lasts is one built on love, that the only success that matters is the kind that lifts others up. Victoria fell asleep that night with a smile on her face, dreaming not of spreadsheets or board meetings or profit margins, but of a little girl with uneven pigtails and a missing-eared stuffed rabbit who had seen a stranger in need and had simply said, "My dad can fix it." And he did. He fixed everything.